I am too. Where are you sitting? You should
say something, Darren.
Marcus.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm sitting.
All right.
I'm going to sit
We can
in the
start.
back. Is there a place to sit?
Darren,
Yes.
how did you originally come into contact with Annabelle and Jeff?
Originally,
Hold on a sec. Include the question in your
I
answer.
originally came in touch, or got in touch with Annabelle actually through James Lapine. I've worked with James Lapine on a few different projects, and I actually don't know how Annabelle knows James, but I think they've known each other for a long time, and I was out in LA working on a project, and we met out there originally. And then it came back to me through the producer, through Oren Wolf, and I know each other from Cleveland, from youth theater in Cleveland, Ohio. So, and then we started working on it about 2 weeks ago, is when we really came together in rehearsals. And that was, it was a challenging process because we had to learn how to take the book and activate it and make it something that you're not reading off of a page, but you're actually watching on stage. And you had to make it something that was going to be very present and worth coming to see in a theater, and not just sit at home and read a book.
And when you were like looking at the writing process and you read the book and you were talking about this adaptation with the actors, what did you think was going to be the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge was this idea of activating things, was how to convert things into dialogue so that we can actually see the interaction between Annabelle and Jeff and get an understanding for that relationship and experience that relationship, versus, again, in the way that it's structured in the book, it's very much, it's he says, she says, and so they kind of each take turns, and they get to really kind of explain everything. But when you in live theater, you really want to see people act it out and take action with it. And
right.
So that was the main process in terms of the development, was how to activate the whole thing.
And when you jumped into the rehearsal room with Annabelle and Jeff, what was that relationship like?
Well, I now have my PhD in marriage counseling from these 2 weeks. I'm very proud. I'm going to open up my practice on the Upper East Side and charge $350 an hour.
That's cheap.
I know. So no, it was definitely challenging. I mean, I definitely was in the middle of. I felt like a referee at times, but I knew I've worked on shows like this where you're taking personal material and you're trying to tell a universal story through it, through an evening of theater, and that's a very difficult process. It's a very personal process. It's very vulnerable, and I knew that was going to be difficult. It's been difficult in the past in other projects that I've worked on. This was particularly difficult because it was with two people. It was with a married couple. I've done it with single people, like a person doing a one-person show. And so to do it with a couple and to find that dynamic and identify what those dynamics are and what is useful for actually telling the story, that takes time, and that takes a relationship and developing a relationship and figuring out what it is that we need to see in order to get the story across. So.
And what do you think, you, having gone through this process now and having this play staged, what do you think the audiences are going to walk away with? What do you hope the audiences are going to walk away with?
I actually think that the audiences are going to walk away with a hopeful view of what it's like to live your life with someone else. I think everyone who's in a long-term relationship knows that it's not easy. But it's hard, especially I think in our current culture, to know that it's okay for it to not be easy. I think there's almost like shame, or, that you need to fix it if it's not easy, if it's not working. But I think what's really great about this material and about this show is it helps us come to a common understanding that this is what marriage is about. That it's about the journey and figuring it out together. And that's where the value is placed on that, on the actual living of the marriage together. The value is not about at the end of 75 years, if you can smile and take a pretty picture together and know that you made two kids that grew up together and became a doctor and a lawyer, that's not what it's about. It's actually about the present experience of living your life together. And this show, I think, really exemplifies that that is what should be appreciated.
That's right. And how much do you think a full price ticket to the show should be?
It depends on my percentage.
I think that's great.
That's perfect.
Do you think there's anything else for him?
I think that's good. No, I
That's
think that-
awesome.
Put it
Darren,
on.
thank you.
God, that was really articulate. Jesus.
I know. We'll need to, because we'll need to